Hey, how's it going, guys? I am so relieved to release my horror film, the second part to the horror film, and I got that off my shoulders. This was supposed to be about a month ago, this product review / basics tutorial for Pinnacle Studio, but I didn't really have the chance, so now I'm doing it for you guys. I forgot to tell you, I got a new computer, a desktop. I have Windows 8. It is a CyberPower PC. And I have Pinnacle Studio 18, which is loading right now. So, I believe we should start on with the basics tutorial because I don't want to make this tutorial too long. Alright, so this is your library. When you first load up Pinnacle Studio, of course, you will need to install all of these components right down here, and these are all the files that you will need. You just go to the welcome.exe and hit standard installation, and then you just load this application up. It will ask you to import all of your footage, so I guess we should start with that. For control panel, you go to import and set the import settings. These are all of your watch folders. These will probably be on your system already. Again, I don't know for Macs, but for PCs, it definitely comes with these tabs. So I know that the previous version of Windows have My Documents instead of Documents. I think that's right. And exit out of Control Panel. So over on the left here, after you import all of your footage, well, all of these lets you see what is on your system. Your photos, your videos, and your audio, like the songs you import to iTunes, for an example. And the media that Pinnacle Studio does not detect that it once did. So this is all your media right here. Under that, we have projects. These are studio movie projects, which means if you want to make a film, and if you want to upload to YouTube, this is for the movie projects. If you want to burn it to a disc, if you're making like a disc project that you want to play in your DVD player, you can view all of your disc projects. For collections, it does already come with the latest import. I assume that's when it already knows like the last thing you imported. So example, I just imported this right here, the snapshot that I made. Let me go back to video because I don't want to lose that tab. This section includes all of the content that comes with the program. So it's not all of the stuff that is on your computer already. It should be the stuff that comes with the program in the installation. So we have the effects tab. You can read right there. You can apply 2D, 3D color, and creative effects to the clips on your timeline. You can include nice transitions if you want to go from one clip to another. Sound effects, if you want to, do a sound effects, if you want to create some ambiance or something like that. If you want to create a montage, if you want to generate automatic music to fit your project, as you can read there. Titles, and disc menus. Menus if you want to burn to a disc. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the library. Let's go back to the controls panel. I showed you the import section. Of course, watch folders is what I mean. These are all watch folders. When you want to, you select watch folders so that they automatically import when Pinnacle Studio detects that there's new media in these folders. Okay. On here, let's say you want to make a video in Pinnacle Studio, not using a different application. Then you can select the microphone you want to use. So of course, I have this microphone that I'm using right now. You could see the voice, the bars that you see when I'm talking. Event log, this shows you it basically tells you what is happening when you import stuff to Pinnacle Studio, import media to Pinnacle Studio. And it's especially used for, I think only used for when there's a type of media that fails to import to Pinnacle Studio. This is export and preview. I should not have this to best quality because I don't want it to render that much. What rendering means is that when you, especially with effects, when you drag media to the timeline and create effects for the clips, Pinnacle Studio can't just export it, or you can't just play it without there being any lag. Pinnacle Studio actually needs to do work on rendering that out and capturing every single frame of it to make sure that there are no problems, that it understands what's happening. The full screen preview, I only have one monitor for my desktop, so I would just select main monitor. Let me just skip down to here. For the playback optimization, let's say you don't want every single thing to show up when you play it in the timeline, then you just select like 90 so that it doesn't take as much effort to show it up on the timeline. So if you have it to 50, you won't be able to view your effects when you play them in the timeline. So it really depends on what kind of person you are on this. Render while play, this is just an option if you want to let it render while you play. Sometimes that can cause problems if you let it render, so I just have it off. I mean, that's all for the basics in that section. All of this is just, I don't feel like it's important to go through. For the keyboard, this is based on what you think the keyboard shortcut should be. Of course, I like them how they are, and I recommend you keep them the same, so nothing weird happens when you type the wrong key. For project settings, I highly recommend not changing anything for that unless you really think it's important. For storage locations, this is all about where Pinnacle Studio is located on your computer, where every single component of Pinnacle Studio is located on your system. And of course, you have a reset option in case you have any problems. So I believe that is it for the control panel. I think we should go down to the timeline settings, and I'm going to show you guys a few clips that I used for the film. Alright, so here we have our media in this section. You can also view it in the library. Of course, Pinnacle Studio will originally show it as this. There are two tabs up here. Source, which shows what is selected in the timeline. So if you select this piece, it will show that. If you go to the timeline, this shows what is down here. Okay? So if I go to source, it will when I drag this in the timeline, it will automatically go to the timeline tab. Okay, so I believe we covered that part pretty good. If you go up here, you can make it full screen. Also, you can hit Alt-Enter, as you can see right here. Here you can see both the source and the timeline, so there are no tabs anymore. You can see both screens at the same time. This can be very handy if you're dealing with the assembly edit, if you just want to bring your footage down to the timeline and you cut it how you want to. Let me go over what to do when you want to, let's see, let me delete that. Let me show you what to do when you want to use this window to drag stuff to the timeline and cut it how you want it. So let me drag this footage. Or sorry, not drag. Alright, so you can also select the in points and the out points of the video. Let's say you want the video to start here, you select I, or you can go to this, mark in. If you want it to end about right when he points, let me just use an example. You just hit the O button, or you can go to the out point button right there. You can select this to erase both of those. Of course, you have a volume. If it's too quiet or too loud, you can adjust that. These buttons apply both to this video and the timeline. So I'm just going to show you once so you guys get it. This means actually, let me just show you what's in the timeline instead, because it'll be a lot easier. So right here, this is the render bar, by the way. You can see this green line dragging. Once that goes to the end, you know the video's rendered. It is all good. You can play it and it does not stutter, okay? So, going back to these buttons, what do these buttons do, okay? So this buttons means that you want to get precise and you want to go from frame to frame. So I'm stepping frame by frame right here to show. So this is just as you want. If you want to get precise, of course you've got this little tool right here to move. So if you want to go one frame forward, you can hit the X button or press this button. And if you want to go backward, you press the Z button. This button lets you go forward to the next clip, so let's just drag this down here. Of course, I forgot to mention, if you want to drag it to the timeline, you can select that button. And let me show you what I mean by going to the next clip. So let's say you want it to go right here, stop right between these two. So if you want to press this button, it jumps forward. And if you want to hit again, jumps back forward. And if you want to hit the jump backward button, it goes back to there, between the two clips, and back to the beginning. And if you want to go to the end of the whole film, meaning after everything, then you select this button. Jumps right to the end. So this can be a handy tool. Of course, it's a lot easier to know these shortcuts. The home, I'm pushing the home buttons on the keyboard, not right here, and the end button right here. If you want to select the F button, it jumps forward, so F as in Frank goes forward, and if you want to go backwards, you hit D as in dog, backwards like that. Alright, so that's basically how you go from frame to frame or clip to clip, or from the beginning to the movie to the end of the movie. So now let's go into loop play. Loop play is not usually a common way, not something common you would do in Pinnacle Studio unless you want to present a certain piece or something like that. I just think it's pretty cool to watch. Let's select an endpoint for this video. If you wanna, you can drag this over here, and actually let's do it a smaller bit so you guys see I don't waste your time. If you select loop play, it goes back and forth over and over between over and over during the whole part of the clip, okay? So that's pretty neat feature, but not necessarily necessary. Alright, so that's basically what to do with that. Now, splitting a clip. A lot of you are wondering how to split a clip. This is the same way in Pinnacle Studio 17. Everything I'm showing you in this video also applies to previous versions of Pinnacle Studio, and I'm going to show you, just review that. Splitting a clip, you hit this button, or you can hit N. I prefer hitting N, getting used to those keyboard shortcuts. Let's hit N again. Let's say we want to just keep these two, but we want to delete this. If you're using the smart editing mode over here, this clip automatically snaps to this, which we call the magnetic snapping. If we want to turn that off, actually, let's turn that back on. That doesn't really demonstrate what I want to say. This is the magnetic snapping. If you move a clip to here, it automatically snaps, and if we turn that off, you see it doesn't automatically snap like I showed you before. So we want to do the magnetic snapping if you just want to get basics done with this. And if you want to delete this, you hit the delete clip button. Also, you can hit the delete key on your keyboard. So you delete that, and you only have the two that you want, okay? Alright, if you want to make a snapshot, let's say, if you just want to create a picture from a frame of your video that you hadn't done already from your camera, if your camera lets you do that, it's easy. Just select this button, snapshot, or hit the S button. I'm not going to do that since it makes a file for me, and I don't think that's necessary for me right now. When doing music videos, markers are really important. They mark the beat of the music. So let's say it goes like boom, ba boom, da doom, boom, da boom, da boom, boom. You see, we have created markers down here. We didn't really do changes to the video or to the clip. We just made markers right here to show where the beat goes, you know? And I don't really exclude this for music videos. Everything is included with this. It can be for all different sorts of videos. It really depends on what video you want, but markers can be very handy. Alright, so I think we should move on to these buttons right here. We covered some of them, but others we didn't. This lets you adjust how you want the timeline, or what you want the timeline to be. So let's say you do widescreen. This shows it in widescreen, a ratio of 16 to 9. Of course, if you really care about the ratio of the screen, then change that. But as you can see, since we hit apply, it kind of makes the video look weird. So pay attention to what your camera does. If you shoot with your camera at standard, leave it at standard. If you shoot at widescreen, leave it at widescreen. Since this tutorial is about Pinnacle Studio, I'm not going to include that in my video, okay? This is just about Pinnacle Studio. You can also make it 2D or 3D. So, I've never done 3D. Of course, I might do it in the future, but I would just leave it at 2D since I have decided what dimension I want to do it in. Of course, you also have options for the resolution, I think, for your video, and you have options for the frame rate. If you really care about those things, you might want to think about changing them. Otherwise, just leave it how it is. Pinnacle Studio knows what you want to do, okay? You can also create a storyboard. A storyboard is basically a rough editor. It lets you drag in clips of the order you want to play them in. Of course, this is just a random order that I'm doing it. But I'm just giving you guys some advice. Alright, that's the storyboard option. I believe there's a navigator option too, but I think we're just going to leave it to the basics. Storyboard, I guess, is a basic, but alright, so here you can adjust the master volume, or if we drag a clip in, we can adjust the current volume of the clip. Now, what that means, the current version, is let's say you want these two clips to have different volumes. If you want to adjust the master for that whole track, which means everything in this track, meaning starting from, as long as your track is, what shows, it adjusts everything. If you just want it to be different, also you can go over here where it says volume keyframing, which lets you drag these up and down. These are basically the same thing. You can see the green thing over here move. Let's see, if you drag it over here, you see that it's different than what is over here. Alright, let's backspace all of that. Let's go to the music. This can become this is an important part of filming, the music, and of course you have a selection of a bunch of songs that already come with Pinnacle Studio. For an example, I used the ambient suspense, and I chose, I forget which one, but I used this for the first Mummy from the Attic video that I made. Of course, every editing program must have titles, so you can adjust titles. Right here, you can add shapes. I'm leaving this to the basics. Of course, you've got a voiceover, So you can actually see, since I'm using the microphone, for some reason it shows really loud. I don't know if that's true or not, if my voice is really loud, but basically VoiceOver lets you talk over clips. If you don't have talking in a clip, you of course have the option to talk in Pinnacle Studio over those clips. So if these clips are silent, I can use that as a handy tool. Okay, over here, I believe I covered everything right here except this. You can just read this. I'm not too familiar, but if you move your cursor over all of these, it gives you a bit of information. The only thing I'll say is that for Audio Scrub, it lets you hear the audio waves as you move this over them. So it kind of stutters. It's not really fluent like you would expect, but it gives you a nice... I find it annoying, in my opinion, but if you find this useful, then go ahead. For author, you can basically select your own disk menu. For an example, let's say you want to drag this down here, and this, you would add text. You really would not want this on your own DVD, but let's say you want to put my film and put the date. I don't know, I'm just giving an example. And you want to play movie, you can actually, these buttons come in handy. Let's say you drag the second part. You say you've got a chapter here, chapter here, chapter here. Let's drag in some media. The media goes down here. Let's say you want to select these buttons. This means chapter 1. When you play movie, it automatically goes to chapter 1. And over here, you can change the options for the disc menu. Since I'm going to leave this nice and short, I might make another disc menu tutorial some other time if you want to request it. But I'm just leaving it to the basics for today. If we go to export, we have several different options for the export. You can create a file on your computer. You can make a disk. You can burn it to a blank disk, upload it to the cloud, or sync it to a device. I don't know, maybe a USB. I'm just going to go over the file since I'm going to keep this nice and basic. I've mentioned that several times in this video. But anyway, here are all the options you have for export. You can make audio, AVI, any type of file, any file type you want to make. And of course you have options for the quality. And when you go to advanced, you have more options. Hit apply and you are good to go. You can start export and you can save your location on your computer. That is it for the Basics 101 tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for taking your time to really watch this tutorial and I guess product review. I'm really satisfied with the software. I've had no problems on the desktop. And if you have any suggestions for me on my next video, please leave any suggestions. I'm also making an announcement that I will be writing the screenplay, or typing it, for the part 3 for my horror film, so I will be excited for that. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Subscribe to my channel.